Hi, today I want to show you how to fix fail to fetch in Wized and Webflow. So I already made a video when you get fail to fetch that, this is because of browser timeout. But sometimes you load this and you just get the fail to fetch immediately. So what is happening here is that either you're using Starlink internet. I'm sorry, Elon, but I had actually a consultation where we tried fixing this and we didn't know where it was coming from. And then she recommended, should I turn on my hotspot on my phone because I use Starlink satellite internet? Maybe that's it. And she did, and it worked. But I don't have Starlink, and I still get that issue. So there are two things: browser timeout, Starlink internet, or cross-origin restrictions. Now, in my example, this is cross-origin restrictions. I'm trying to get data from a place that doesn't recognize me and doesn't belong to me. In this example, and every website is like an API endpoint delivering you an HTML file. So the cool thing here, and that then gets interpreted by the browser, but the cool thing here is I try to access, when I call the Wized website that is delivering an HTML file, and I try to, contact the Wized URL to get that HTML file delivered to me. Now, of course, Wized is saying, no, you're not going to get our file from your browser. Like, this is, cross-origin restrictions. Now, I want to show you how to go around those cross-origin restrictions and why client-side is a bad idea in doing API calls, and server-side is the best practice for that. So let's get right started with this. Now, I know Wized offers processing that requests on their servers, but it will have the same issue if you process this on their server. But it won't have that same issue if you process that on your own instance in Xano, because Xano probably is doing some magic there to make those things on the gray area even brighter for you. But, it will not work. So the cool thing is, let's copy this URL and let's scrape the Wized website. Let's go to Xano and let's build an API together. Oh, I'm moving my windows. Here you go. Let's call this Scraper. Sounds great so far. So here we go. Let's add a new endpoint. Let's do a get endpoint, and let's call this Wized, right? So, and actually, let's do it different. Let's do something unique here where we can scrape multiple websites. Let's do URL/URL, just like that. So if we do it like this, and I'm going to add, if we tokenize this text and I'm going to add URL in here, we can pass the URL in this param right in here so that we can, scrape multiple websites. So then let's create an API call here. And, we don't need to import curl. Here you go. Let's add the URL in here, and this will be the URL I'll be providing, and we want to do a get call. That should work. So if I'm now going to go and add the URL of Wized in here, I should be getting something back, even if it's an error, and then we're going to work ourselves up. So here we go. I will be getting HTML back. Isn't that cool? So look at that. I'll be getting HTML back. So then we only want to return the result. So we need to do a dot response dot result. That way we're only going to get the result. Here you go. So now I will be getting HTML back as text. Ideally, I want to set the header. So I can do an HTTP header, and I want to do value duplicates. Oh, let's keep this default. So I want to do content type application HTML. So I have content type application HTML. Boom, I'm going to publish this. And then if I'm going to copy that endpoint like this and visit it, I'm going, not doing anything. I'm just, oh shit. I'm going to go to so let's just add that in here. And let's add the Wized website in here. Just like that. Here we go. And let's go to my notes. Put that URL in here. And now I should be downloading the Wized website. And that will not work because it's probably a bad idea doing that in the header, I assume. Because then we have the slashes in there and they may get tangled up. So that may not be the smartest move here. Let's remove that and let's just pass this on as a param. So here we go. There we have it. Let's copy this and then we can do this as an HTTP call in Wized. So that is not working. We cannot call that. So let's update this. Let's call, instead of the URL directly, let's call our Xano endpoint. And we do that extension in the request. And here we go. We're going to add that in here. And then we're going to add a URL parameter. This is, what we're doing in Xano right here. And we're going to return the Wized URL right in here. So let's go here. Boom. And then if I would be loading this, I would be getting the HTML of Wized. So why do I get the HTML now and, not when I call it directly? Because on my server, I'm also doing a get API call to the URL of Wized. This is the same thing just happening on a server. Why is this not working in Wized? Because Wized is also just a get to the website URL, right? Or it was before, and now on the back end, I'd also just, add the Wized URL in here, and I'm getting the data here, and on my browser, I'm getting failed to fetch. Now, this is the difference between server-side and client-side. Server-side has more functionalities of executing requests. Client-side is more limited. Why? Think of it like this. Client-side has to be limited. Let's say you're going to load a JavaScript file, and this doesn't just apply to HTTP requests, this applies to everything. Let's say you have a tool where the client can write code and execute at client-side, and it will tell them if there is an error or not. Now, if the user adds code that will hack his hardware, that code will hack his hardware because that is happening on his computer. Right? That computer is a server, is a machine itself. And if that gets executed on the computer, your visitor is liable for all the damages that your corrupt code is causing to that user, right? So now so that is why they limit it. The browser company said, no, there are already enough experts on the internet that don't know anything. So let's just limit it what your browser can do. The server has more capabilities, but this here is not your computer not having the possibility to do that. You can run this in Postman or whatever, or like using localhost or something, and you will be able to get the HTML. You just cannot do it in the browser because your browser is protecting your user from people on the internet that don't know what they are doing, so that they don't download any viruses or something like this. This is what your browser is making sure of. So that way, this is one of the features directly scraping websites that is not allowed using the cross origin. But you can, if you ever find you call an API and you get a CORS issue, you can just execute this on, a virtual machine like Xano, because Xano gives you a virtual machine that will not have that issue. Now, Maybe Zapier has that issue too. I'm not completely sure, because if you use services that make it very broad, they always implement technology to avoid idiots from being idiots. I'm sorry to say it that way, but they need to add, they need to baby-proof it. And this is what they're doing here too. But now the cool thing is, we're going to get HTML served in here. So what I could do is I could do set HTML, and let's hope this will not look awful. Let's go to set HTML. This is an experiment. If it doesn't look good, please ignore. But actually, cool, look at that. It's working. I mean, it's not adding the CSS, but if I run this request here, you see that we're actually downloading the HTML file off the Wized block. Look at that. Isn't that a beauty? So this is super cool, because now we can, we can scrape websites without having to, we can kind of like scrape websites here, which is pretty cool, I will have to say. And this will not be allowed in your browser, but if we're going to execute this on a virtual machine, on a server, we will be able to do those things. And this is why, things like Stripe elements are executed on a server side to then have that client-side component to make sure that the data is being processed securely. And this is the difference between client-side and server-side, and also how to avoid some CORS restrictions. I hope that this really helped you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your wonderful support. I also really appreciate the wonderful support from the Wized team, and thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate all your support. If you have any video ideas, or if there's anything that I can help you with that you want to see a video about, please feel free to put that down in the comments, and I'll be making a video about that to help you out as soon as possible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your support, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.